Hello, everyone. It is Ariel, the licensed mental health counselor, and I am back with another video. Today, we are talking about boundaries and why boundaries are so important. And let me tell you, from what I've seen, a lot of people have issues with setting boundaries, and rightfully so. But we don't want that to stop us from having relationships with people because we're not able to set boundaries. So this topic, again, we're gonna play some more Hairdresser Simulator, a little calm game to play while we get through this topic, because I feel like this is very, very important. I want people to understand why it's important. So why not continue with the same fashion of being able to do some clients' hair while also getting to the point of the topic. So let's start the game. So when it comes to boundary setting, I feel like a lot of people allow family and I guess family and friends to just do what they want because they are family and they are friends. But honestly, boundaries are for you and to protect you and to make sure that you're good. And I would hope that your family and friends understand that. Now, it's not going to be an easy task, but you have to at least do what's best for you. And boundaries is that. Now, what are boundaries? Now, these are limits and roles that we set for ourselves within relationships. An example I would say to kind of get people of the basis of boundaries, it's kind of like when you buy a new home, and you don't have a fence. People can just come do whatever they want because you don't have a fence. I mean, you have cameras, of course, and you see what's going on, but the fence is not there to set up those perimeters to not allow people to just do whatever they want and come in and destroy your area, your space, right? Same thing with boundaries. Boundaries are set to make sure that you are okay and to make your relationships a little bit more easier. And a lot of times it takes us talking with the people that we love, spending time with them to truly understand what boundaries we need to set and why those boundaries are important. Now, why are boundaries important? They are not easy to set. They can be stressful, especially for the people who aren't used to it. A lot of times I hear people who they have a hard time setting boundaries because family members get upset because they're so used to doing something one way that now that you've changed that, they're like, whoa, what's going on? But you're allowed to make those decisions for yourself. And you're allowed to make those decisions for yourself and establish those boundaries to make yourself feel good and to feel safe. If your family or friend can't understand that, I think that's where the issue comes in. And it's not up to you to make them feel comfortable. The boundaries is for you and to make sure that you are okay. If anything, relationships that involve mutual respect and everybody that's involved in the relationship can create a space for them where everybody understands everything and we have these boundaries and we know our limits and things like that, it becomes less stressful and then it creates a more meaningful relationship than to not set those boundaries and know where you don't want the person to cross, but then continue to let them do that because now you're letting them take advantage of you and that's not fair. And sometimes people don't see it as that, and it sounds really hard for them to go and establish those things. But I feel like the more that you sit with yourself and understand why you're doing these things, it helps you to be able to see, okay, why is this thing important? What is the reason why I'm setting these boundaries? And I have to be okay with the way that people take it, because at the end of the day, everybody has their own set of feelings and they take things the way that they take them. But once again, it's not up to us, and we are not responsible with how people take things. It is important for us to establish those boundaries, let people know, and they have to either respect it or you know how to move forward with them when it comes to those things. When we set those boundaries, we are expressing that a limit that hasn't been established yet, while also possibly pointing out someone else's inconsiderate behavior and asking if the person is willing to make the adjustments for the good of the relationship. And for some people, that's very hard, which I can completely understand. It's new for everyone across the board. That's why it takes a lot of time to sit there and try to figure out, why am I setting these boundaries? How can I let these people know what the boundaries are for? And then also being okay, once I set that boundary, that's where it is, and I'm not going to sit here and adjust it for people because I want them to feel comfortable. No, it's about you and making sure that you are good when it comes to the boundaries and that relationship, right? So as we get into more boundaries, we can start here. I'm going back and just going through the task. Each time I get into the game, it seems as if there's different stuff for you to do. So last time it was curling, this time it's cutting. I haven't cut anyone's hair yet, but let's see. So we have to use the spray bottle and cut the person, or wet the person's hair first and then cut it. So as I'm doing this, I will continue with the conversation, but I just want to let you guys know what I'm doing here. Now, the reason why I've chosen these games is because, like I said before, it's so comfortable to be able to talk about these things, and then also have something to focus on and, you know, give people something to look at while I'm talking, because I feel like just sitting at the screen and talking could become mundane for some people. But once again, I enjoy video games. I feel like this is a different space to be able to get this information out, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but it's good to at least try, like I've said before. Now, what does it say? You can use scissors to cut hair into a straight line. Click and hold the button to place the scissors at a specific spot. Change the cutting angle. After positioning the scissors, double click to cut the hair. Oh, okay. Oh, it tells you. Got it. Okay. So we're gonna go to scissors. Let's see. Double click. Ooh, this is not perfect, but you know. It's so glitchy, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. Angle it and double click. Angle it and cut. All right. So as we get into it, how do we establish these boundaries? I mean, as easy as I may say it, it's not as easy to do it. And I completely agree, and I understand, because we've all been through it in the sense of we thought about it, but we haven't done it, or we have done it, it didn't go well, or whatever the case may be. But the first step I would say is understanding where your own personal boundaries lie. Same thing like I've said before. Why are you establishing those boundaries, and how are those boundaries going to work out for you? Because at the end of the day, like I've said before, these boundaries are for you, but you have to come to an understanding as to why you're doing these boundaries. Because I feel as if when it comes to boundaries, sometimes it's hard for families to understand why we're doing them. And I think when you take the time to try and figure out as to why you're doing them, that's when you can let families know, okay, why all of a sudden are you establishing these boundaries? And you can let them know, like, hey, I'm establishing these boundaries because I felt uncomfortable when it comes to certain situations. We were supposed to be using the clippers. I was not paying attention, so that's okay though. This part right here, and then we'll do this section. Okay, now it makes more sense. That was me, I wasn't paying attention. Okay, so let's put our hair back down and let's continue into the topic. So like I said before, the first step is understanding where your own personal boundaries lie. You need to make sure that you're not setting this boundary just because you're setting this boundary because you feel some type of way, you feel violated, or this person is just doing too much and you need boundaries set, or whatever the situation may be. So also understanding what feeling violated means, understanding that each person's feelings when it comes to feeling violated is different. How you have boundaries set for your coworkers is so much different than the boundaries that you set for your family, so much different than the boundaries that you set for your friends. So each person is different. And then this also comes with learning how to say no, making sure that you're putting yourself and your feelings at the forefront, and with you saying no, that you're okay with that and understanding the reaction that you're going to come from that and not taking it personal. A lot of times people don't do things, or they don't want to have these conversations because they're afraid of the no, or they're afraid of the reaction that they might get. So again, this comes with processing that and understanding that whatever reaction that you get from this is not your fault. This is how the person is responding, and it's not your responsibility to make them feel better, but it's for you to understand that these boundaries are for you, and it's okay if somebody gets upset, because at the end of the day, these are your boundaries. This is what makes you feel safe, and eventually, hopefully, the person cares enough that they understand why you're doing these boundaries and they're okay with that, right? In a perfect world, once we are aware of what our personal comfort zones are, we're able to communicate that information to others, and then the boundary is set. Ideally, that does not happen, right? Like I said, in a perfect world, it never goes that smoothly. So again, when you're trying to understand where your personal boundaries lie, understand that comes with the possible reaction of the other person, and then also comes with understanding that it's going to take a while for people to understand your boundaries and to be able to follow through with them. Unfortunately, it doesn't take the first time that they're like, okay, you set this boundary, I'm gonna follow through with it. No, it takes a lot of, you have to reassure and tell the person, not reassure, you have to keep reiterating to the person, like, hey, remember that boundary that I set, please don't, go past that. Understand that I set this boundary because I care about a relationship, and I also want my feelings to be understood. So let's get that put into the books, and then understand that it might take a couple of tries for you to really get this through to people, right? It's not our fault, but it's just the way that people are. Okay, so let's end this tutorial and let's go to our shop so we can start taking clients. Let's see. Okay, so now I want to get into the signs that will help you understand, or that will help you point out why you need to establish boundaries, right? There are so many different signs that you may not see, that you need to be like, well, okay, well, maybe I do need to set the boundaries because this is how I'm feeling. But sometimes we don't recognize those things. And again, this is why therapy is a good thing, where you can come in and explain all of that. And the therapist can outline these things to you and explain to you what the signs are, what it looks like. And then you can kind of get a gist for yourself. Like, where do I go from there? How do I understand this? Do I need to set this boundary? How do I set this boundary? And where do I go from there? So let's see if we can schedule some people to see, and then we'll just go through it like we always do and just get through the different topics when it comes to boundaries. Okay. Yes. All right. So the first sign, well, let me not say, because these are not in order. These are just signs just in general. But the first thing that I want to get to is you feel resentful of people asking too much of you, and it seems to happen often. A lot of times, family and friends will, I don't want to say they use us, but they will take advantage of us because they're so used to us doing things.
I had a great time on the trip, and my hair clearly paid the price.
I guess Martha's back. Oh my gosh, why does her hair look like that? All right, let's rotate. So a lot of times, like I said, family will take advantage and they will ask us for things. And a lot of times, I won't even say family. I'll just say people that we're close with will ask us for things. And sometimes we will go above and beyond and break our backs because we feel bad. And we're just like, we kind of have to do it because this person is my friend, this person is my family, this person did this for me way back when, and now I kind of just have to do these things for them. And yes, it's great to be there for family and friends because that's our support and we would want them to do the same for us, but this shouldn't come along with you feeling resentful if you don't help them. And family and friends should know that too. Like, I can't help you all the time, and I shouldn't feel bad that I can't help you. This is where a boundary is set, where it's kind of just like, listen, I was able to help you with this task this one time, but I can't keep doing it every time, and you have to understand that. And you have to stand strong on those boundaries, or else the person is going to continue to push them and continue to ask those questions. And if you keep saying yes and you keep doing it, they're going to know that you want to do it every single time, when that's not true. And you have to establish that. So again, this comes back to us being able to establish those things and standing firm on it and not making any wiggle room or changing it for whomever because we feel bad. Because at the end of the day, who are we hurting? Ourselves, and that's not fair. We can't help ourselves if we continue to help other people and neglect our own self. It's not fair. It's not fair for us. And at the end of the day, you end up getting into a breakdown because you're just filled with so much and you neglected yourself at the end of the day, and that's not fair, right? So just keeping that in mind when it comes to family. Now, I'm not saying you can't help family, because you can, and friends. It's more so on the fact that if you don't help them, you feel bad about it or you feel resentful. There are times where family will ask me for things or friends will ask me, and I will tell them I can't do it. I did it last time, but this time I can't. And if they make you feel bad about that, then they're just not the right people for you to be helping or to have around you, because that's not fair. They have to understand too that you have your own life and you need to take care of yourself, and you can't show up for this person all the time. Again, relationships are a mutual thing, whether that's romantic relationships, families, friends, whatever. The effort has to come from both sides, and it can't just be one person doing everything. That's not fair. Now that goes into the next thing, saying yes to things that you would rather not do just to avoid upsetting or disappointing others. Now this is a big thing. This comes with boundaries. This comes with morals. Now this is extreme, but if I don't steal and a friend asked me to steal something from Walmart because, I don't know, they got caught up or whatever the case may be. If I know that I'm not the type of person that does that, why would I go and break my back and risk my own self to help you? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm only doing it because I don't want you to get upset with me, and I don't want our relationship to get ruined, when that shouldn't be the basis of the relationship. Now that's extreme, stealing and stuff, but it's an example of moving away from your morals to help with somebody else when you know it's something that you wouldn't even do for yourself. Like, you know that that's not the type of person that you are, but you're doing it because you don't want to upset the other person. It doesn't even sound right, but when you're doing it, you try to justify it by saying, this person cares about me, or I love this person so much that I could never, not do this for them. Or the person just says things to make you feel bad. Again, this is not the type of person that you want around you. If this person can't understand as to why you won't do this because of your own morals and your own beliefs, then that means you should reevaluate that relationship and try to figure out why the person feels that way. and figure out what boundaries you need to set with that person. That comes with saying no, again, being comfortable with saying no, and what comes with it, right? Now moving on to the next thing, and now I'm looking down because I again have notes. I have to write notes or else I will forget. And true, that goes with therapy too. I write down little snippets of notes, so when I go back and type up my notes, I know exactly what I'm writing, and I know how to work with a client moving forward. So you tend to keep most people at arm's length because you are afraid of letting people get too close and overwhelming you. Now, this comes with, again, you setting a boundary. Whatever happened to you in the past or whatever situation may occurred has now kept you from getting close with people. So you keep them far away, which can affect a lot of relationships. The way that we get close with people and we learn to trust them is by spending time with them. Another sign would be you find yourself feeling the most of what you do is for other people, and they may not even appreciate it that much. This goes back to the other sign. Now, I'm not saying everything that you do for someone, you have to get praises. There are people that do things for people because that's what they enjoy doing, and it makes them happy, and they don't want anything back. But again, you don't want to keep pushing yourself to do things for people and they never acknowledge it. Nothing is ever stated to, at least for them to show you that they appreciated what you do. Like I said, they don't have to tell you every single time, but it would be great, like, oh hey, thank you for picking up my son after school these past couple of days because I've been having to work overtime or whatever, because this is your cousin, this is your nephew, whatever, so you don't mind because whatever the circumstance may be, you're close to them, or you just have the time to be able to do it, and you have a good relationship with this person, and you don't mind doing it. That's fine. But you also don't want the person to take advantage and never acknowledge that you're doing it, and you're doing it out of the good grace of your heart. And they don't even take the time to at least say, thank you for doing this, here's a gift card, or thank you for doing this, you don't have to do it these next couple of days because I was able to do this. Or even like, the situation is come up and they are not looking to find a solution. Like, this was made to be temporary and they've continued to do it without trying to figure out another solution. Like, yes, you don't mind picking up your nephew, your cousin, whomever, a family friend from school, but they're also not your responsibility, and you're doing this out of the kindness of your heart because you care, and you want to be able to continue that relationship, but because that just out of the kindness of your heart. But again, you don't want this person to take advantage, and now that their work schedule has gone back to normal and they're still making you, or they're still asking you to do it, it's kind of just like, okay, well, I also have a life too, and I want to be able to do the things that I want to do, but I want you to understand that this was supposed to be temporary, and you appreciated that I did it for you, and you're not just taking advantage of me because I'm your only solution right now. Now, this also comes with, maybe it is something long-term, but this would come with you establishing that boundary with them, like, okay, well, I'm only able to do this for this week, or these next couple of days, or for this month, whatever the case may be, but hopefully they'll be able to find a solution. Now, if this was established in the beginning and they let you know, moving forward for the next couple of weeks, I need you to pick up blah blah, that's fine, but make sure that there's an end period, because again, boundaries, they need to understand, hey, I'm only doing this for the next couple of weeks, like you said. I'm not going to be doing this for a long time. I understand that you need the help, but again, this is not my responsibility, and you got to figure out a solution so that they're able to do it when you're not around, and they also understand that you are not the only person that can help with this. They got to figure out the solution, right? So this comes with them appreciating that you helped, but then them also understanding that you have your own life and you have your own things that you need to do. And they are able to find a solution for themselves, and they're not just waiting around for you to just do it just because, it's not fair for you. And they need to figure out what they want to do and understand that there's boundaries there when it comes to you, and that it's okay for you to say no, that you're done doing this, and then for them to be okay with it and not make you feel bad or whatever the case may be. Now, moving on to the next sign, I would say, or other list of signs. The stress you feel from disappointing others is greater than the stress of doing things that inconvenience or drain you in an effort to please them. And I read that again because it can be a little bit confusing. The stress you feel from disappointing others is greater than the stress of doing things that inconvenience or drain you in an effort to please them. How do I want to word that? So, when it comes to this, why boundaries are especially important is you're letting the stress of the disappointment of other people be put at a hierarchy than the stress of the inconvenience or the effort that it takes for you to do this thing for them. So an example would be, let's say I have to go out of the way to pick up my aunt from work, right? Because she knows that I get off at 2 o'clock. She gets off at 3 o'clock, but we live close to each other, but her job is out the way. And I said it was okay. I will do this for you. I'll help out in the time being because, I don't know, your current mode of transportation is an issue right now and you need a ride. One thing is, I am specifically going out of my way to pick you up because I care about you, and I feel like you would do the same for me, so I don't mind doing it. But after a couple of weeks, or maybe even a couple of days, you start to realize that this person has someone that lives with them that can pick them up, or this person used to ride with their coworker, but now that they realize that I'm family, they don't have to pay for gas or anything, that they're going to keep asking me, and I'm going to do it because they're family. And I don't want to upset them or disappoint them, so I'm going to keep doing it even though it's stressing me out, driving all the way over there. But the disappointment and them getting upset with me and ruining this relationship is way higher than the stress that I'm getting from driving all the way over there to pick them up. So now not only have you neglected yourself and the level of stress that you put onto yourself by taking on this task for this person, you've now taken out your morals as far as doing things for other people and not letting them know I am tired. And when it comes to our relationship, I shouldn't feel bad at the fact that if I say no, I don't want to do this, that you're going to be upset with me. And that's the reason why I don't want to say anything or establish a boundary with you. That's a lot. Like, who wants to carry that every single day? You have to wake up and think, oh my gosh, I have to go pick up this person again, but I have to do it because if I don't, they're going to be upset with me, and then it's going to create something that I don't want to happen. That's not fair. So again, this comes with setting the boundary. Like, hey, yes, you are having an issue with transportation right now, and I don't mind picking you up because I get off early, and it's not an issue for me right now because I don't have much to do after work. But maybe times change and you pick up another job, or you just don't feel like it. You don't want to do it anymore. You are allowed to do that. I would think that eventually this person would find their own transportation and they're not just relying on you to be able to do these things for them, but it happens. And sometimes people will take advantage, people that you don't even think, or half of the time you don't even notice, because it's been such a regular thing for you that you're kind of just like, oh, okay, whatever. But then you sit back and you're like, wait, I'm paying for gas every week. This person hasn't paid for gas. They haven't given me anything as a token of appreciation. And they haven't even acknowledged or told me any updates on their, plan for possibly changing their routine, or, fixing this transportation thing that they told me was only going to be temporary. You have to let these people know, and you need to sit firm on your boundaries so that these people understand why you're doing it, but also understand that they can't do that with you again. And that's not saying that they can't ask for your help again. They can, but they have to understand that you have your own boundaries, you have your own limits, and it's not fair that you have to stop those boundaries, or, fix it and tweak it and do whatever for them. That's not fair. These boundaries are set for you, and these people have to understand that. Now, along with that, getting into our next thing would be the benefits of setting healthy boundaries. Now, I can talk about boundaries. I can tell you what they are. I can give you the signs for them. I can tell you how to establish them. But what am I getting out of those boundaries? This is for people to understand, what am I getting out of those boundaries? Why should I set them? What is it that's going to help me if I do them? Because I'm doing fine now, even though you may not. But in your mind, you're kind of like, it's fine, I'll deal with it. But in reality, you're actually really, neglecting yourself, putting all that strain on taking care of somebody else and not taking care of yourself. It's not fair for you, and it's not fair for the relationship, like I've said before. So getting into the benefits of a healthy boundaries. Respect is the one thing that everybody says that they want, and rightfully so. Everybody should be respected. If anything, respect is earned, not given, of course. But in this day and age, everybody wants to be respected. That's literally all people are asking for, is to be respected, right? With the rise of social media, if anything, setting boundaries is probably the best thing that you could do for yourself to maintain a healthy balance between being online and being offline, especially if you're a content creator. And I'm happy that I'm starting to see a lot of content creators do that now, where they're establishing boundaries with their supporters, their subscribers, whatever, their followers, to basically just let them know, like, hey, no, I'm not doing this type of content. Hey, I don't want to talk about these things, because at the end of the day, yes, I'm a content creator, but I am also a human being that has a family, that has their own stuff. And the last thing that I want to do is risk my own life and risk my own family for the sake of content. And so this is where boundaries come into close. So it's kind of just like, I want to create content, but I also need to establish these boundaries, because like I've seen before, there are people who don't know boundaries when they meet people out in public, and we have to establish those early. Let people know, hey, if you see me out in public, understand that I might not be the friendliest because I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm with my child, whatever the case is. But when I'm online with you guys and I'm creating content, of course I'm friendly. I'm talking to you, I'm creating conversation, because that's what I do. But when you see me out in public, please refrain from doing this, from doing that. You are allowed to do that. Well, you are allowed to do that. Will people follow it? Maybe, maybe not. But again, that comes with you establishing that, reiterating that over and over, letting people know, and staying firm on those boundaries, because it is so important. If not, people are going to do what they want to do, and again, this is not fair for you. So making sure that you understand why these boundaries, what the benefits are from establishing these boundaries, right? So the first thing that I will say is you have to protect your emotional space. Everybody has emotion. Everybody has feelings. Whether you acknowledge them or not, you always feel some type of way for something. Um, this is such bad graphics. Like, why does this hair look like that? But you have feelings. Everybody has feelings, and setting boundaries protects your emotional space. This comes with how others talk to you and how they treat you. You don't have to stay in a space where you feel like you're being mistreated. And that comes especially in the workspace. If your boss is talking to you in a certain way, I would hope that you would be able to talk to someone about this and be able to set boundaries and figure out, is it worth me staying there to deal with that, and this person can understand and put those boundaries up, or should I find something else where I might, where I will be respected as an employee. Because I feel like that's where a lot of boundaries get crossed too, is at work. People talk to people however they want. People are up in people's spaces, touching people's things, and it's just like, oh, you're just, we're cool, blah blah. And it's like, no, you have to ask people. You have to learn how to respect people. And I think people also have to understand too, because you're my coworker, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're my friend. That's a big thing too. Just because we're cool at work doesn't mean that we're cool outside of work, and that doesn't mean that you get to cross certain boundaries when it comes to those things. When we set those boundaries to protect our emotional space, we can help increase feelings of self-respect and self-compassion. We're letting people know how to respect us, and then that helps us respect our own self and create a self-compassion for ourselves. So the next thing would be separating your thoughts, feelings, and needs from those of others. Absorbing the emotions of other people, and becoming so caught up in trying to meet their needs that you ignore your own, or you may feel drained, is exhausting. Okay. Having to tiptoe around other people, or having to be able to worry about how they're gonna feel and not how you are gonna feel, that's exhausting, because then you can't come into their space feeling comfortable, and then you're just sitting there kind of just trying to figure out, well, how do I communicate with this person? How do we establish a relationship if I'm so worried about how you're feeling, or I'm making sure that you're good and I'm not even worrying about how I'm feeling? That can be very draining for ourselves. So establishing these boundaries definitely help to separate that, and understanding that your needs are just as important. And of course, taking care of other people is good. We want to do that, but we want to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves first, always, right? So the next benefit would be not feeling responsible for the happiness of others. Being responsible for making someone feel happy can be very unhealthy. And sometimes we will cross our own morals and our own judgments, or whatever the case may be, to make this person happy. And that's not fair for you again. Why is it that the person gets to feel happy and you don't? Why is their emotions higher than yours? It honestly just doesn't make sense when you think about it. You're kind of just like, well, why am I less of a person? Why is your emotions more important than mine? Why is it that I have to worry about what's going to make you happy instead of worrying about what's going to work for the both of us? Like, especially in relationship, I think that comes with it too. Like, let's say you and your significant other always go to the same place because that's what makes them happy, but you're tired of it, you're over it, you've been there multiple times, and you want to try something different, but you don't suggest anything. Why? Because you're afraid of how they're going to take it, and you want them to be happy. So again, you're neglecting your own feelings, and you're doing what you think is best for them. And you also don't want to alter or create any issues when it comes to the relationship. But again, how do you know until you ask? You don't know. And even if you do know, sometimes it's better just to ask and actually get that confirmation, that way you can figure out where to move forward. Because again, relationships are about compromise, yes, but that person also has to understand too that you're tired of doing the same old thing, and they also have to switch it up for you and for the relationship. It's not fair for you to sit there and do the same thing over and over because it makes them happy. Well, what about you? So you're just going to these things just because it makes a person happy, and you just neglect yourself and you're just doing it just cuz. So now essentially, are you even happy in the relationship? You know, sometimes we make excuses for other people, but we have to worry about ourselves first at the end of the day. Um, we are the only ones that can care for ourselves. And if we don't start there, that's a big, big detriment to our mental health. And we want to make sure that we take care of that first, right? Now, another benefit of setting boundaries, I would say, having a strong sense of identity. Without boundaries, you find that you are losing your sense of self. If these boundaries are not established and you're doing any and everything for everybody and you're breaking your back, you completely forget about yourself. And you forget about the things that you need to do for yourself, unfortunately. And it sucks. But again, there's never a time limit to set boundaries. If you feel like this is something that you want to change, you're allowed to do that. You are a human being. You're allowed to change your mind. You are your own person. It is your life. And if you're sitting here putting your own stuff in the back burner, and the other person is sitting here and they're able to do whatever they want to do because you said it was okay, even though you're not okay with it, again, you're losing your own sense of self. You are not doing what is best for you, and that is not fair. I'm going to keep saying it because it's really not fair. We have to look at it in that way. It's not fair for you to give up on your own self to worry about someone else. At the end of the day, you are the one that has to live with yourself, and you want to make sure that you are living a fulfilled life, right? So you can help others and be loyal without neglecting your own needs, right? It's kind of the same thing as like when you're in the airplane and they always tell you, like, you know, God forbid something happens, put on your own oxygen mask before you put on somebody else's. Because how are you going to help me if you haven't helped yourself? It doesn't make any sense. While you're trying to scramble and put the oxygen mask on me, you're slowly depleting, and it literally doesn't make any sense, because how are you going to help me now that you passed out? Or now that something has happened to you, I should say. It literally doesn't make any sense. So again, we want to make sure that we are doing what's best for ourselves before we worry about someone else. We have to make sure that we are up to 100% for ourselves before we decide to take care of somebody else and start putting 100% of our effort in there. This is why boundaries are important. So as we come to the ending of this video, what is the overall summary? Boundaries are limits and rules we set for ourselves within relationships. Basically a fence around you, right? We want to make sure we have that. It's important because it can be stressful not having those boundaries set up, and we don't want people to take advantage of us, right? There are ways when it comes to setting up these boundaries. We want to understand why we're setting them up and making sure that we're okay with saying no. We also want to look at the signs and try and see, do we need to set a boundary? What is it that's going to take us to set these boundaries, and you know, how is this going to help us? And then also the benefits of setting these boundaries, being able to feel respected, being able to have a healthy balance between our relationships with wherever spaces we are. If we're content creators online, if with family, at work, whatever the situation may be, boundaries are always important. And I want us to look at that and understand that when we start setting those healthy boundaries, it'll be beneficial for our mental health, right? And that is the end goal. So again, please give me feedback. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any questions, comments, just let me know what you guys think when it comes to boundaries and as far as this content and just in general. And I will continue to push the content out there. Yeah, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.